Every single month, one thing is always certain. A whole bunch of new games comes out. That's a guarantee. What's not a guarantee is whether they're worth playing, and that's the purpose of this video, to cut through all the hype and just tell you what's actually worth your time. As always, I'm Daniel, and today, the must-play games of October 2025. We've got 15 of them, so let's get into the video. All right, starting us off at number 15, we have Ghost of Yotei. And if you were a fan of Ghost of Tsushima, this is like pretty much a no-brainer. Centuries later, you're playing as Atsu, a new protagonist who's this wandering Ronin-type character on a pretty brutal mission of revenge. Basically, they've kept that incredible, satisfying steel-on-steel combat from the first game, but they've expanded it massively. You're not just limited to the katana this time. You've got dual blades for faster attacks, a massive odachi for heavy sweeping strikes, and they've even added early firearms. And that completely changes the dynamic of a fight, making you actively choose the right tool for the job. And I will say, it adds this whole new strategic layer. The open world itself also feels a lot more alive, I guess. It's denser. They're promising a bunch of new biomes, from snow-capped mountains to vibrant wildflower fields. And they've done this cool thing with the story, where you can hunt down the main targets, the Yotei 6, in any order you want. I honestly love that kind of non-linear design, not just forcing me to do it their way. It just gives you so much freedom. And of course, visually, the game looks stunning. That classic Kurosawa black and white mode is back, which... yeah, I'm probably going to play the whole game that way. Yotei, if you love Tsushima, you'll definitely love this one too, so keep an eye on this one. Ghost of Yotei is set to release on October 2nd, 2025 for the PlayStation 5. At number 14, we have The Outer Worlds 2. Obsidian, this is the follow-up from them, and if you know their work, you know what to expect. A darkly comedic, choice-driven RPG. You're off to a totally new star system this time, Arcadia, as this operative sent to investigate these chaotic rifts that are popping up and causing all kinds of trouble for the local colonies. It's a fresh slate, new corporations to mess with, and a whole new set of problems to solve. Or, make worse. And a huge part of that, of course, is how you build your character. The skill system is where these games really come alive. Pouring points into your dialogue skills, for instance, can let you talk your way out of situations that would otherwise turn into a massive firefight. Or having a high engineering skill might let you hack a terminal and turn a corporation's own security bots against them. It's this kind of build diversity that really encourages multiple playthroughs. The story you experience as a smooth-talking diplomat is going to be fundamentally different from the one you get as a brute force and ignorance type character. On the more action-oriented side, they're saying the combat has been pretty significantly refined. From the trailers, we've seen new weapons and more fluid movement abilities. A big addition is a full third-person camera mode, which is new for the series, so you can switch between perspectives. As you'd expect, you'll be recruiting a whole new cast of companions, and your choices will apparently affect their loyalty and the power struggles between the different factions in the system. The news broadcasts in the world will actually change to report on what you do. Will The Outer Worlds 2 be great? Well, we'll find out when it drops on PC, PlayStation 5, and Series on the 29th of October, and it'll be on Game Pass from day one.
An adventure made for capitalism by capitalism.
On to number 13 is the Jurassic World Evolution 3. All right, so Frontier is back at it again. These are the folks behind Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo. So when it comes to management sims, they really know what they're doing. The core fantasy is the same. You get to build and manage your very own dinosaur park. but it looks like they're giving us way more control this time around. The building system, for example, has been completely updated. They're adding these new modular tools, which basically means you can get super granular and like customize every single piece of a building. Same with the environment. You're getting new terrain sculpting tools to create proper cliffs, waterfalls, and different elevations. So instead of just a flat park with a few hills, you can really design these complex, natural-looking habitats for your dinos. But the biggest gameplay change, and this is a pretty huge one, is the new breeding system. The game will now have male, female, and even juvenile dinosaurs that can actually breed naturally inside their enclosures. You have to manage their social needs, their environment, everything to keep them happy enough to, make more dinosaurs. And the traits from the parents can be passed down to the offspring, which will affect their behavior and even how they look. The campaign mode is also getting a big overhaul. It's set across the entire globe, and the really interesting part is that your decisions and your mistakes will carry over from one mission to the next. Not really a huge fan of these kind of games, but if you are, Jurassic World Evolution 3 is set to release on the 21st of October for PC, PlayStation 5, and of course, Xbox Series X and S. Coming in at number 12 is Ninja Gaiden 4. So we are getting a new Ninja Gaiden. This is a big one. This series is legendary for its lightning-fast and honestly brutally difficult combat. The big news here is that we have a new protagonist named Yakumo, but for the purists out there, don't worry, the legendary Hayabusa, Ryu Hayabusa, is also confirmed to be a playable character. The core DNA is still there. This is a game all about that relentless high-skill hack-and-slash combat. They're introducing some new mechanics with Yakumo, though. He has this ability called Blood Raven Form, which is, basically a super mode that transforms his weapons and lets him unleash these incredibly powerful attacks that can break through an enemy's guard. And yes, the classics are back. The Izuna Drop and the Flying Swallow, yeah, they're both here. There's also a new parry system that seems to be a big focus, and a bloodbath kill move, which sounds like a flashy finisher for instant takedowns. Like basically there seems to be a whole lot of things. But not only the combat is getting an update, they're adding a lot more mobility to the game. You'll be able to grind on rails and use a grappling hook to get around the environment quickly. It seems like they want to use that for combat as well, letting you, stay mobile and zip around the battlefield. And maybe the biggest surprise here, the developers have confirmed a new training mode. That's a first for the series, I think, and for a game as notoriously punishing as Ninja Gaiden, giving players a dedicated space to practice combos is a very welcome addition. That's all we know for now. We'll find out more when Ninja Gaiden 4 releases on October 21st for PC, PlayStation 5, and also the Xbox Series X and S. And number 11 is Kingmakers. Now this game is, the premise is just wild. It's this bizarre mix of a third-person shooter and a real-time strategy game. Early access, it's not a full release yet, it's come to early access, and the setup is that you're a modern soldier who gets sent back in time to medieval England, and you get to bring your stuff with you. So you're running around with assault rifles, shotguns, and even like driving vehicles like trucks and SUVs, fighting against these massive medieval armies. The gameplay's work gets really unique because you can just jump between two different perspectives at any time. You can be on the battlefield as a shooter, personally taking out knights with a grenade launcher. Then you can zoom the camera way out and switch to this commander view. And suddenly you're like directing your own army of spearmen and archers like it's an RTS. It's a game about being this one single technological advantage that can completely change the course of a war with thousands of soldiers on screen. And the whole thing is also playable with up to 4 people in co-op. Sounds like a ton of chaotic fun. Not really much to say for this one, but make sure to keep an eye on Kingmakers when it releases on October 8th for PC, and just like I said earlier, it's going to be an early access title. All right, number 10 is Arc Raiders. This one has been in development for a while now. Third-person PvPvE extraction shooter, and it comes from Embark Studios, the same team that made the finals. So that alone should give you a sense of the kind of chaotic, physics-based action they might be going for. The core concept isn't, completely new if you've played the genre. The main loop is about dropping into these dangerous zones with your squad, scavenging for valuable resources and gear, and then the hard part, making it to an extraction point alive. Because if you die, you lose everything you went in with. It's that high-stakes, high-reward loop where every encounter feels like a calculated risk. It seems interesting because you're fighting on two fronts. You've got the AI-controlled robotic enemies called Arc thing, which range from small scouts to, these massive mechanical giants that require real teamwork to take down. And you've got the other players. It's unpredictable and maybe makes every run feel different. You never quite know if that team you spot in the distance is going to leave you alone or try to take everything you found. Crossplay between all platforms, and if you want to try it out before launch, they are holding a Server Slam open beta, which is scheduled for October 17th to the 19th. Arc Raiders is set to release on October 30th for everything except the Switch.
So, Shroud dupes you into a trap.
Coming in at number 9, we have Dispatch. Now, this one's a narrative adventure with some light strategy elements. It's being made by a team of former Telltale Games developers, and it's a heavy focus on story, branching choices, and consequences. You play as a guy named Robert Robertson, who used to be a superhero, but now he's working as a dispatcher. You're basically managing this team of misfit heroes, and you have to send them out to emergencies happening around the city. So a crisis will pop up, and you have to strategically decide which hero is the best fit for the job based on their unique skills and traits. And you also have to, manage their cooldowns, so you can't just send the same person out for every single problem. And of course, every decision you make is supposed to influence your relationships with the team and how the overall story plays out. The game is also releasing in an episodic format. The full season has 8 episodes, but instead of one a month or something, they're dropping 2 episodes every week for 4 straight weeks. The first 2 episodes of Dispatch are set to release on October 22nd, only for PC and PlayStation 5. So at number 8 is Absolem. Now, this has been really high on my radar for a while now. At its heart, this is a beat-em-up. Think of those classic arcade side-scrollers, but it's been fused with a modern roguelike structure, and that combination is just so compelling. The moment-to-moment gameplay is all about that fast-paced arcade action. It's crowd control, it's combo strings, it's just a really visceral, satisfying feedback every time you land a hit. You play as one of 4 distinct heroes, and they're not just reskins. Each one has a completely unique moveset and different abilities, so the way one character plays is going to be completely different from another. The game is built around runs. You start out, you fight your way through these different arenas and rooms, and along the way, you'll be picking up temporary upgrades. Things that will enhance your attacks with elemental effects or give you new defensive options, just for that one attempt. And then, inevitably, you're going to get overwhelmed and defeated. But that's not the end. You're sent back to a hub area where you can spend the resources you gathered to unlock permanent upgrades. So the next time you go in, you're just a little bit stronger, a little bit smarter. Classic one more run gameplay loop, and it's something that might hook into you. You can tackle the whole thing solo, but you can also team up with a friend in either online or local couch co-op. Absolem is set to release for PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and the Nintendo Switch, October 9th, 2025.
Hero of the forgotten, overthrow the tyrant, and restore magic to the world.
At number 7, we have Little Nightmares 3. Now, the first 2 games were developed by Tarsier Studios, but this one is being handled by a different team. Supermassive Games this time. They're the ones behind, titles like Until Dawn and The Quarry, so they definitely know a thing or two about horror. The biggest change here is that the game is built from the ground up to be a co-op experience. You play as 2 new characters, Lo and Alone, who are trying to escape this place called the Nowhere by, navigating through these different nightmarish worlds that are all linked together in a chain called the Spiral. While it's really designed for online co-op, you can still play the entire game solo with, an AI companion controlling the other character. The gameplay is still that familiar blend of puzzle platforming and that very specific kind of stealth horror the series is known for. But now the puzzles are built around two people. Each character has their own unique abilities. Lo has a bow and arrow, which is used for ranged puzzles, and Alone uses a wrench for up-close melee stuff and, interacting with different environmental objects. The developers have said they really want to maintain the series' signature creepy atmosphere, but just do it on a much larger scale. Little Nightmares 3 is set to release for pretty much everything. PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Series, the Nintendo Switch on October 10th.
Of a double life.
All right, at number 6, we have Moonlighter 2. So the big thing here, the first thing you'll notice is that this one makes a full shift from the charming pixel art of the first game to a full 3D perspective. That's a huge change. But at its heart, the game is still that same fantastic blend of a roguelike dungeon crawler and a shopkeeping simulator. The core gameplay loop is what made the first one so addictive. You go into these procedurally generated dungeons, you fight enemies, you collect a bunch of loot, and then you bring it all back to your shop to sell to the villagers. Because of the move to 3D, the combat has apparently been completely refined to be a lot more dynamic and responsive. New progression systems like backpack upgrades that can, increase item resale prices, and character upgrades that you get using relics. And then there's the shopkeeping side, which has also been made a lot more complex. They're adding this roguelike system to it, which sounds really interesting. Each time you open your shop for the day, it's considered a new shop run, and you'll have to use different perks and strategies to try and maximize your profits. The game is set in a new village, Tresna, but you'll still, encounter some familiar faces from the first game. Moonlighter 2: The Endless Vault is entering early access on October 23rd, 2025 for PC via Steam and the Xbox Preview program. A full release on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series is also planned for a later date.
So at number 5, we have Terminator 2D No Fate. 2D side-scrolling shooter that looks like it was ripped straight out of a 90s arcade. The game's story is said to blend iconic scenes directly from the movie, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, with some new kind of original scenarios to flesh things out. The gameplay is a total throwback to old-school action games. You get to play as a variety of characters from the movie. We're talking Sarah Connor, the T-800, and John Connor, and each one has their own different abilities. What's interesting, though, is that the gameplay is not a simple run and gun. There are apparently sections where you have to sneak around and evade the T-1000, which sounds really tense. And then there are other parts where you're, leading the resistance as John Connor in these future war missions. It seems like they're packing a lot into it. The game features multiple modes, including a story mode, an arcade mode, an infinite mode, and even a boss rush. So it's not just a one-and-done kind of thing. You'll also have a variety of difficulty settings to choose from that, actually change things like enemy placement and damage output, which is a very classic, very welcome arcade touch. No Fate, Terminator 2D No Fate, releases on October 31st, perfect for Halloween, I guess, for PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, like everything, including Series, and of course, the Nintendo Switch.
Will you stand with them? Terminator 2D No Fate, coming to your screen October 31st.
Player journey.
Well met, traveler.
Next up at number 4, we have the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, a complete ground-up remake of the first two games in the series using that gorgeous HD 2D art style. The style that Square Enix has been killing it with, that blend of classic 2D pixel art with these beautiful modern 3D environments. It honestly works so well for these classic RPGs. But this is more than just a visual upgrade. They've gone back and modernized the gameplay to make it a lot less archaic. So for example, in the original Dragon Quest 1, you could only fight one enemy at a time. It was always one-on-one. Here, you'll be fighting proper groups of enemies, which changes the flow of the game for the better. And they're also adding a ton of new content. They've mentioned new areas, new story beats, and new characters. The big one seems to be for Dragon Quest 2, which is getting an entirely new underwater region. It's got its own unique story, new bosses, and a brand new playable ally, the Princess of Kanak. On top of all that, you've got the expected quality of life features. Both games will now have full voice acting, new music, and the essentials like autosaves and adjustable battle speed to just make the whole experience way more accessible for a modern audience. The Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake is releasing on October 30th, a day before Terminator 2D No Fate, and it's coming to everything including both the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2.
Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake, bringing you new
has been restored to this digital world.
Coming in at number 3 is Digimon Story Time Stranger. So this is a new monster taming RPG, and it's all about the relationship between humans and their Digimon partners. The story is apparently pretty epic. You're traveling back and forth between the human world and the digital world, trying to stop both from collapsing. The gameplay is, at its core, a turn-based battle system, but it looks like they're adding a lot of strategic layers. They've got these new agent skills, which are basically your abilities as the player character that you can use in battle to directly boost your Digimon, so you're not just standing on the sidelines giving commands. Then there's an individual factor system and a cross-art system, which, they sound like they're the big, flashy, ultimate moves you can build up to. Digimon, over 450 Digimon to collect and train. And it's non-linear, so your Digimon isn't just locked into one specific line. And they have different personalities that actually affect their stats and skills. It just adds so much more depth to the team building. You can actually ride some of your larger Digimon to get around the world faster, which is always cool. There's a free demo available, and any progress you make in the story part of that demo, it carries over to the full game, so you're not just wasting your time. This one is releasing on the 3rd for all platforms except the Switch.
Up at number 2 is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. First-person action RPG where you play as an elder vampire named Fire. You've been in a deep sleep for about a century, and you wake up in modern-day Seattle, and right away, something's wrong. There's this strange mark on your hand that has it's suppressed most of your power, so you're not at full strength. Blend of combat, stealth, and a lot of dialogue choices that are meant to really impact the story. The first big choice you make, and it's the most important one, is your clan. You get to choose one of, 6 vampire clans, and each one plays completely differently with its own unique abilities, which are called disciplines. Of course, you can get into this brutal, up-close melee combat as a Bruja. You can use blood sorcery from a distance as a Tremere, or, just use mind control on people as a Ventrua. The systems literally get even deeper, though. There's a blood resonance system, which means it actually matters who you feed on. Feeding on people who have certain strong emotions, like fear or anger, can give you this special currency to unlock specific abilities. You can also form alliances with other vampires in the city to temporarily unlock their clan's powers. And all of this is wrapped up in the Masquerade system. It's the core rule of this world. You have to avoid exposing your vampire nature to mortals. If you start using powers in the street, you'll get into a lot of trouble with the police and probably worse. Bloodlines 2 is set to release on the 21st for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S.
And of course, that number 1 is Battlefield 6. This is the big one for October, and the entire marketing push is that this is a massive return to form for the series. They're going right back to that classic large-scale combined arms warfare. A huge part of that is the return of the traditional class system. They're bringing back the 4 distinct classes: Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon. So no more specialists. Each class has its own signature weapons, its own traits, and its own gadgets. That's a fundamental shift back to what a lot of people have been asking for, really focusing on that team play aspect. The combat itself is also getting a new movement system. They're calling the kinesthetic combat system. It allows you to do things like, lean around corners, but the big one is that you can now drag downed teammates to safety before you revive them, like a massive tactical change. There is a single-player campaign which is set in 2027, and it follows a story between a fractured NATO and this private military company called Pax Armada. But for many, the big news alongside the classes is that the portal system is back, and it's been upgraded. They're promising to give players even more tools to create, share, and discover all sorts of custom game modes. Battlefield 6 is set to release on the 10th for PC, PlayStation 5, and Series.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and also turn on the notification. Lastly, don't forget to drink water and get some sun. Thanks for watching, and of course, I'll see you in the next video.